the notion of the Arizona Cardinals trading Josh Rosen is still lingering out there. The Giants reportedly are considering all options as the future successor to Eli Manning, including a trade for Josh Rosen. I saw that Joel Klatt from Fox was suggesting that there are 3 teams that are in the running for a Josh Rosen trade. Now, I always wonder when it's somebody who isn't one of their football people who gets this information. Is it coming from Rosen's camp?
Yeah, Joel Klatt is a Southern California guy that's been around these UCLA and USC teams a lot, so he's getting it from somebody with direct knowledge. That would make me believe.
So Rosen. So this is coming from Rosen then. This is originating with Rosen and ending up with Klatt.
I think so, somewhere along those lines, certainly. But yes, I mean, I would think Fox Sports is in Southern California, as you know as well. So yeah, I would think that it's coming from someone, maybe not from Rosen, but maybe he knows someone that's close to Rosen's camp that knows of the situation. So that makes sense. But get back to what you said, Mike. You said there's 3 teams that are interested. Is that what he said? I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah, Klatt identified 3 teams. I'll find it while you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess the first thing that jumped out to me, and I said this when we were on TV a little bit, is, when I hear this, especially when it goes to the Giants, and as far as, maybe the Giants are researching the possibility of trading for a Josh Rosen, that tells me that they're not absolutely in love with the other 2 quarterbacks not named Kyler Murray that are talked about in the first round, which is Drew Lock and Dwayne Haskins. So that tells me that. Also, I want to make sure everybody knows out there, this whole Josh Rosen, I'm going to get traded, all that stuff thing, it's not necessarily an indictment on Josh Rosen. I still believe that he has potential to be a really good NFL starting quarterback. I mean, he was the most accurate thrower of the football coming out in the draft last year. Yeah, his arm wasn't as strong as Baker Mayfield's or Josh Allen's, but it was stronger than Sam Darnold, and he throws a very, what I would say, a catchable ball, Mike. He's a perfect spiral thrower, and there is something to that, but he's a good decision maker. He's a smart kid, and he's pure throwing the football. That's what I would say about him. And just because Arizona might want to trade him, it's not an indictment on him. It's more about the specialness of Kyler Murray and the skill set he brings that's very rare in the history of the NFL.
Joel Klatt was on Undisputed on Fox Sports 1 on Wednesday, and he said that the Patriots, Giants, and Chargers are the 3 teams that I have heard and I know are very interested in Rosen. One of those has already offered a second-round pick, according to Rosen. Arizona is waiting for a first. And, I remember thinking at one point early on when this train was starting to move in the direction of the Cardinals taking Kyler Murray and trading Josh Rosen, that Rosen may feel compelled at some point to leak something that makes him look better in all of this. And this makes him look better. At a time when it feels like the Cardinals don't want him, here's 3 teams who do. Patriots, Giants, Chargers. Somebody's already willing to give up a second-round pick for this guy. I think that, people get uncomfortable when we try to speculate on who their sources are, but this is a reason why I'm giving credence to Klatt's report.
Yeah. Because
I think it doesn't take many steps to trace it right back to Rosen.
Yes, I agreed with you. Yeah, totally do. He was around, of course, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen a lot last year during the draft process. We've talked about Fox Sports being there in Southern California. He's connected to the college scene there. I would be shocked if he didn't get someone very close to Rosen altogether. And the 3 teams you mentioned there, or that Joel is mentioning, they make sense. I mean, just from a pure football standpoint, yes, the Giants, New England, gosh, would they give away the 32nd pick for Josh Rosen? Maybe. I would certainly think about it. Especially if you go, man, this is the last year for Tom, or at least the second to last year of Tom. And the Chargers certainly have to start thinking about the future as well, because I think Phillip Rivers is certainly on the way down. He's playing good. I know all of that, but it's not like the Phillip Rivers we saw 5-6 years ago.
Here's the one key thing to consider contractually, too, if you inherit Josh Rosen's contract. First, as we've previously mentioned, the Cardinals have paid the bulk of the money in signing bonus and first-year salary. You get him for 3 years at a total of like $6.2 million or something like that. However, that 4th year, which will be the 5th-year option, because he was pick number 10 and not pick number 11, you're in a different stratosphere for what you'd have to pay him for the fifth-year option. It becomes the transition tag for quarterbacks in the year before that fifth-year option operates, which for this year, Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, $20.8 million. One pick lower, it's a much lower number. So that's something, if you're going to plan this like Bill Belichick will, and he plans everything, you have to be thinking what that fifth-year option payment would be, and it's a bigger number because he was number 10. If he's one spot lower, everything changes. It's amazing how all that happens, Chris. But, look, it feels like it's all moving in this direction. Who knows what ultimately is going to happen? I think the NFL wants the Cardinals to keep it all close to the vest as long as possible. And that brings up a point that you and I have discussed previously. And I'm very intrigued about where you stand on this right now because the offseason programs are opening soon. If you are one of these teams, do you want Rosen now, or are you content to wait until the draft and your pick is on the clock? Because if you're the Cardinals, you want that pick when it's on the clock.
Yes.
You don't want teams to know that here you are with your pick because they start trying to guess what you're going to do and maybe leapfrog you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the thing that it's not crucial that it gets done, or I say this, it's not crucial that Josh Rosen gets there before the draft and all of that. What is it, the date that players are allowed to go back and work at? Is it April 15th? Is that the date we're at right now in the NFL? Basically,
it's earlier than that. For the Cardinals, it's earlier than that. If you're a new coach,
yes.
It's right around the first or early part. There's a lag for new coaching staffs and holdovers. But regardless, if you have this guy, you want him in there
yes.
as soon as possible. You don't want to wait until the draft.
No, you do. You want him in there as soon as possible. Of course, it's the quarterback position is very important. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to make any stupid decisions or rush to anything over 2 or 3 weeks of time. And Josh Rosen is no dummy. I think he can pick up an offense fairly quickly. So I wouldn't think teams make that too much of a deciding factor, knowing they'll be able to play catch up. After the draft is really when a lot of the offseason groundwork gets laid as far as team meetings, OTAs, mini camps, all of that, where he can get the heavy lifting and catch up for whatever team he does play on.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.